What's up, guys? Matt Brown here for thelines.com. I'm going to talk to you about Thursday night football. We got the Texans and the Jets. Here, everything we do absolutely free. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up, then let us know in the comments how you are going to play this thing that's sitting at 1.5 or 2, depending on where you look, in favor of the Jets. If we look at the total here, 42.5 to 42, pretty much out there in the industry. FanDuel always a little bit higher, it seems like, on these totals here lately. So a little bit off of what the typical market price is out there, but 42 and a half and 1.5 to 2 points in favor of the Jets. Take a look here at what we're looking from an injury report standpoint. On the Texans side of things, safety Jimmy Ward not going to play. Linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair not going to play. So that's two guys on the defensive end, starters. You also see right here Dameon Pierce not going to play. Who really cares? Joe Mixon is balling out for this Texans team. And then, of course, you know, they lost Stephon Diggs for the season, which should get Nico Collins back next week, but not going to be back this week for this Texans team. So it's going to be the Tank Dell show and maybe some other guys that we'll talk about here in just a little bit. New York Jets, on the other hand, tons and tons of injuries. So you can see this is both starting safeties. So Adams and Davis, both starting safeties, are out. Then you have your best linebacker, C.J. Mosley, also out. Oh, how about your right guard as well, and Elijah Vera Tucker, also out. And then Morgan Moses, 3 limited practices in a row. He's your right tackle, and he's out. I mean, he's questionable. I should say questionable. So just got a completely banged up Jets defense here with both starting safeties and your best linebacker, and then at least one offensive lineman out for Aaron Rodgers, and maybe 2, depending on Morgan Moses here on the short week, 3 limiteds with this knee injury that he's got going on. Up here, this is the weather, and you can see, no big deal. Might rain a tad, wind, not that bad. I mean, the gusts, we really only worry when the wind is like sustained, like 15 to 20, and then the gusts get up into that like 25, 30, 35. That's what we really start to worry. So nothing I don't think that's crazy, but hey, it's the weather. Be sure and check it out before we get going. I mean, if you look at this Jets team, guys, I mean, you can see the 2 wins, now that we know what Tennessee and New England are, right? And oh, by the way, they'll end up losing to New England anyway this past week, but we know what these 2 teams are. They're trash, and those are the only 2 wins that they have on the season. And you can see, like, every other team with a pulse they've lost to. And not only they lost, I mean, like, some of these wins, I mean, some of these losses were just pathetic. I mean, that loss to New England was pathetic. Pittsburgh was bad. I mean, obviously the San Francisco and to open the season was bad. I mean, this is just not a good Jets team so far this season. And so, I mean, if we go back over here and look at the lines, I mean, the problem with the Texans, though, is they're heading into this on a short week, probably the worst offensive version of this Texans team that we're going to see all year long. It's, like I said, Collins going to be back next week. Diggs is gone this week. It's a short week to prepare without Diggs. So just a lot of things that kind of working against this Texans team. All that being said, I would only take the points with them. I'm not laying anything with the Jets. Those defensive injuries, even with like what's going on with the Texans, I mean, you can still run on this Jets team all day long, and you know, still have Dalton Schultz, who is a really good tight end to go along with Tank Dell, and I think at this point you got the better quarterback. I mean, C.J. Stroud's better than present day Aaron Rodgers. So I would only do that. I played the under, but it was on opener, which was at 43.5, and so it's like irrelevant. I would still only play the under in this thing. Again, with the missing pieces from the Texans, I imagine we see just a heap and helping of Joe Mixon, tons of ball control type stuff, keep the ball on the ground. And on the Jet side of things, man, they just haven't done anything on the offensive side really all year long, you know? And so what makes us think that they're going to magically flip a switch here on a Thursday night football game? So I still lean to the under at any price. I would never play an over, but just disclaimer, it was a point and a half higher a little bit earlier in the week. So for me, under look, Texans look, and then over on the props side of things, I think one of the things you can do here, if you want to make this a little bit more favorable for you, is, you know, we talk about line manipulation. Everyone wants to talk about teasers, but like you don't really have to tease it, especially if you don't want to pay the full price, right? And so you can come in and you can hit SGP, right? And then go to game. And then you can just like manipulate the lines, and you don't have to go the full 6, so you don't have to pay the ridiculously high teaser prices that are getting charged these days. So let's just say, for example, we want to take the Texans, and we want to take the Texans up to let's 7.5. So we'll cross the 3, the 6, and then the 7 as well, and get to that. Now we could come in and say that we want to, let's just say under. If we want to go under 44.5, we could. That would get us to, see, plus 120 instead of paying the minus whatever it is now, 125, 130 for a common teaser. If you wanted to give yourself even more buffer and you want to go on the other side of 47.5, you can see minus 110. You're still paying cheaper than if you played a regular teaser. So, go in and do these little line manipulation deals as opposed to just going with the static teasers, because you can often get better prices this way. This is over at MGM, so I think this is a cool way to play it for me, is taking the Texans up over a touchdown and then just bumping that total up a little bit higher and playing the under. So probably have that in the account for me as well. And finally, I'll clear this out. Here's our leap of faith this week, guys. Let's go to players, and we'll go to receiving. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a guy named Xavier Hutchinson. So Xavier Hutchinson is basically going to kind of have to step in and be wide receiver 2 for a week, because like we said, Nico Collins not back until next week for this Texans team. And Tank Dell obviously going to run as the number 1. The problem is maybe Sauce Gardner shadows him. So Sauce Gardner shadowed in week 4 against Cortland Sutton, in week 5 against Justin Jefferson, and then in week 7 against George Pickens. And like, there's kind of a common theme in all that, which is like Cortland Sutton's the only receiver with a pulse on that team. Justin Jefferson, certainly, I guess you could consider Jordan Addison. Honestly, in week 5, Addison might have been hurt, so it might have been just been Jefferson that week. And then, of course, Pickens, the only receiver on the Steelers with a pulse too. So it seems like these teams in which there's only one good receiver, it seems like they're okay with Sauce Gardner shadowing. I don't know if they put Tank Dell in the same category as a Sutton, Jefferson, or Pickens, but I think there's at least an outside chance that maybe he does shadow. If that's the case, then we got to look at these like alternate receivers, and because again, the Texans aren't going to pass for nothing, so it's not like CJ Stroud's going to go for nothing in this game. And so why not Xavier Hutchinson here at 19.5 yards? So this dude's actually been on the field. You probably don't know that because he's not catching a ton of passes, but since Nico Collins got hurt, he has played 71%, 50%, 64%, and then 62% of the snaps for this team. Hadn't equaled a ton of targets, hadn't equaled a ton of yards and catches. However, as we said, Steph Diggs now out for the season, so he's going to play, again, the least he's played these 4 weeks at Nico Collins has been on 50% of the snaps, but he's played 64, 62, and 71 in the other 3 weeks. So, 65% of the snaps, 70% of the snaps this week seems very inside the range of outcomes for the guy that's kind of now been thrust into the kind of wide receiver 2 position this week. Yeah, I understand the Jets don't give up a ton in the air as it is, but again, CJ Stroud's not going to throw for nothing, and we're asking for 20 yards from a guy that's kind of going to have to be the de facto wide receiver number 2. So I'll play this on Xavier Hutchinson, and whatever. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and Schultz goes for 100, then so be it. But I'm gonna play the percentages here. The dude that's on the field a ton is gonna eventually ends up catching some balls. So Xavier Hutchinson over for me in this one as well. So under on the total. Gonna play the Texan side of things. Really would rather do it in a line manipulation, same game parlay, not a teaser, because we're not moving everything 6 points, and so we're getting a better price on it than we would on that teaser price. And then like I said, just going to take a leap of faith here. Xavier Hutchinson, all those snaps that he's out on the field, finally going to bear some fruit this week with him being the kind of de facto number 2 receiver there for the Texans. Again, as always, come over here, compare your stuff. If you want to make sure that you've you got multiple outs, because that is the only way to make sure that you are getting the best number and best price out there. This is the Discord button. That's absolutely free. Got a nice community in there talking all sports all year round. So go in, join that, absolutely free, as well as is this channel. Do appreciate you guys being here, and good luck on all your Thursday Night Football bets.